Welcome back to the Transform with MG podcast, where we'll talk all things transforming your health, body, and mindset. It's been a hot minute since I recorded a solo episode, and it feels quite strange to be staring directly at a camera with all these fancy lights facing me, as opposed to sitting on the couch and essentially having a little chit chat with the women that I've been bringing on for interviews. But there is something that I wanted to talk about for a while, actually since recording my last solo episode, which was all about how to overcome bad body image days. And that's something a little bit more above surface level. And I believe that no matter how much work that you're going to put into working on your relationship with your body, bad body image days cannot be avoided. There's going to be days where we're simply not feeling at our absolute best. And I think the whole body positivity concept or movement is a bit of bullshit, because I think it just paints an unrealistic picture of the place that we should get to. I think it's unrealistic for us to love our body unconditionally every single day, and there are much better approaches to be kinder to your body, even on the days when you're not feeling like it. Before I dive into the things that you can do to be kinder to your body and still accept it, regardless of whether you're completely satisfied with it or not, I want to go down the memory lane and show you how my journey with body image has been over the last decade or so. Essentially, the first encounter of me struggling with body image goes back to the start of high school, secondary school, whatever way you want to call it, when I was about 14, 15. And now don't get me wrong, I was never overweight, but I was definitely in a bigger body than my peers. And whenever we used to hang out, go to town and literally bum around, do absolutely nothing in a group of about 20 of us, I always felt not good enough. And I guess I never got attention from my girlfriends, never got attention from the guys. And it made me feel insecure, and it definitely made me lack confidence, which translated into being socially awkward at times, or I felt like I couldn't be authentic because I placed so much value on how I looked. And I guess from those early days, it just showed me that appearance is important, or what I perceived to be important anyway. And I felt that in order to be liked and in order to be popular, because I always strive to be like one of those popular girls, I needed to look a certain way. And more so, I needed to be a specific size, specific weight, because what it felt like was that those girls that, had the tight gaps and were super slim and skinny, it's the girls that were popular and the girls that always got the attention, the girls that were always chased after the boys. And I suppose that was further amplified when I transitioned from high school to uni or college, where there was a lot more external pressure. There was a lot more going out. We were no longer wearing uniforms. So back in high school, we had uniforms. Everyone literally dressed the same. You kind of covered up in a way. So I didn't feel there was as much comparison going on as there was in uni. And of course, social media had a massive, massive role to play on that as well, because I was getting into that kind of space as well. I was 17 turning 18. So social media had a huge influence on how I felt about my body. But again, I felt that insecurity about my body, although again, looking back on the pictures, I was definitely not in a big body. I wasn't overweight. I was a healthy weight, but that comparison of just not being as slim as my friends and my peers made me feel extremely insecure. And I always had this big anxiety about trying on new clothes, getting into photos. It definitely translated into how I showed up in social situations, and I always struggled to make new connections and show up as my true self, because if my self-worth and self-belief wasn't there, how was I supposed to show up as this like positive person? So I felt that I was shy, and I felt that I was maybe a little bit like socially awkward, whereas I think I placed so much value on my appearance, and because I felt that I didn't look good enough or wasn't the size or shape that was perceived by society as the like ideal body, I also didn't feel good enough as a person, as a friend or whatnot. And that essentially led me down the route of joining the gym and starting my own fitness journey in the first place. The goal was to lose weight and tone up, but if I'm being honest, they were definitely surface level goals. What was below that and beyond that surface level was the need and desire for validation and attention and likability, acceptance. I guess as an immigrant coming from Poland to Ireland, I always felt that this void and I guess like emptiness and feeling of like not being good enough or like not fitting in as such. I mean, it took me a while to like build up like a friendship group when I first came here because I needed to find myself. But I guess the desire and the need for that validation and acceptance led me down the route of thinking that if only I change my appearance and change my body, that I am gonna be like accepted. So my fitness journey like started off with the pursuit of like losing weight, wanting to be small and skinny. And then I did start to get validation and I did start to get attention, both in person and on social media. And that only justified my disordered behaviors around food and exercise and what turned as a pursuit to perhaps be fit and healthy, or what I told myself to really did become like an issue and an obsession. And because it was kept being justified and I was being told that I'm so disciplined and motivated, it only like drove me further to keep like putting so much focus on my appearance and the way I looked, and I felt like, oh, I'm finally fitting in, or I'm finally being accepted by this like part of society, or I'm finally fitting into this like confined box that social media and society portrays a woman's body to be like. And that's where the issue lied. I thought that changing my physical appearance and becoming small and skinny is actually gonna lead down the path of boosting my confidence, my self-esteem, my self-worth. I'm finally going to be able to be more social, more authentic in situations. It actually did the complete opposite for me. I really became obsessed about my body and my appearance, and I didn't know it at the time, but I suffered badly with body dysmorphia, and I would constantly check myself in the mirror. If I ate a meal, I would straight away run up to the mirror to lift my top up to see, do I still have my abs? I would catch myself looking in windows when I would walk past it to make sure that I look slim. I would weigh myself every single day. I would be very hesitant into getting into group photos in case like my stomach pouch was popping out or like my arms didn't look toned enough. If you've never heard of body dysmorphia before, it essentially is a condition where you're hyper focused on your perceived like flaws and imperfections. And being obsessed about your body is not healthy and can really lead down a negative route of like disordered eating, depression, social anxiety, social isolation. My body image journey didn't stop there, although thankfully I did get out of the headspace of wanting to be the smallest version of me as possible and shifted my focus away from appearance and more so performance-based, strength-based, how I felt, like actually using nutrition to improve the quality of my life and to feel good, to have more energy levels. I once again battled with body image when it came to weight gain. So it was really hard to get out of the mindset of wanting to stay the leanest and as most shredded as possible, because you do get that external validation, and it feels freaking good when people left, right, and center are telling you how good you look. And then as you're gaining weight, you're beginning to lose that definition, and people no longer really pay attention to you. But it all came down to just being so insecure internally. It had nothing to do with my looks. I just internally had so self-worth and low confidence that I just didn't think that I was good enough outside of how I looked. But I shifted my mindset away from that thinking. I really worked on self-development, self-love, and appreciating my body for so much more than just its own appearance. But I guess where I battled with body image again was actually at the start of this year. So if you don't know, and you might not know, I haven't actually talked about it a lot, but I suffered with functional hypothalamic amenorrhea, which meant that I've lost my period for a duration of 5 years due to like stress or perceived stress. And I'm sure I'm going to talk about it further down the line in a lot more detail, not something that I want to go into right now. Essentially, I did get my cycle back after 5 years only recently, which I am so thankful for. But at the start of the year, I decided that enough is enough. I need to do something about it. I need to go all in. And if that meant reducing my exercise and increasing calories, then be it. But that also came with weight gain, which mentally, I think it was one of the toughest periods of my life, because I obviously, as a coach, social media is part of my job, and I show up on social media every single day, and my body shows up on social media every single day. And to not feel comfortable in my own skin, clothes not fitting me anymore, having to record like various workouts and stuff and put that out on social media, and absolutely hating the way I looked, was just a big mental battle and a big test for like where I was with my relationship with my body. I did work with a coach who was extremely helpful with my journey to being more comfortable with being uncomfortable, essentially. So it was a huge mental battle that once again I managed to overcome. And shortly, I want to share some of the strategies that I use that you can be more kinder to yourself, even if you aren't completely satisfied with the result, because this is not the body I wanted to be in. I wasn't happy with my body. I wasn't loving every part of the body, but I knew I was doing it for the bigger cause, like the bigger impact that I wanted to have, and for my health. And I had to put like my appearance and physique goals to the side in order to fix an issue of, yes, the fact that I didn't have a period, but also some other issues underlying the relationship I had with my body and relationship I had with my food. And I'm a firm believer that if your relationship with your body and your food isn't in the right place, that dieting or trying to change your body composition or appearance isn't going to help you in any shape or form, and it's only going to make things worse. You're going to start to attach your worth to a body composition, to a certain physique or appearance, which I essentially did a few years ago. And dieting isn't going to fix something that needs fixing internally. As you can tell, I definitely had my days, weeks, months, and years of battling with body image. And if you are too, I want you to know that you're not alone. And in fact, the way a woman perceives her body is the third strongest indicator of her overall health. And there was this stat that I read, which I was like surprised yet not surprised by, but 70% of women withdraw of doing certain activities due to their feelings about their body. 70%. Like, that's absolutely massive. And not to disregard like men in this whole like body image movement, because reading upon research, like the way a man feels about his body is the second predictor of his overall happiness. So there's definitely like a huge link between the relationship we have with our body and our overall happiness. So you might be thinking, why on earth do I think that the body positivity movement is a bit of bullshit, while I have gone through like a fair share of my own struggles with body image? Well, I don't know if you heard of the body positivity movement, but it originated back in the 1960s, which is like a long time ago. And I honestly thought it was only about like 5 or 6 years ago. But that might be just my like ignorance to it and naivety. Don't get me wrong, I think it has its merits. And the whole idea behind it was anti-fatness activism. The goal was to break the line between weight and self-worth. That everyone deserves to be treated with respect and fair treatment regardless of their shape and appearance, which is absolutely fantastic. And I think it has changed a lot of things and broke a lot of like society expectations on how a body should look like. And I think the core mission behind the movement is great, but I also feel like there's a lot of wrong with it and it's quite unsupportive. Body positivity implies that we should love our body regardless, even if it isn't perfect according to the society standard. But I think loving every single part of our body unconditionally, it's unrealistic for a lot of us. And I really don't think it is necessary in order to still be kind and treat our body with respect. And I'm saying that as somebody who has literally struggled with body image since the age of like 14, 15, and thought that I would never get to the place where I actually would be happy within my body. And this is why I much prefer the concept of body acceptance or body neutrality. Body acceptance isn't about always loving your body, but being more acceptance of it. It shifts the focus away from appearance and focuses on non-physical characteristics. The body neutrality movement originated in 2015 and it contradicts body positivity in the way that it doesn't focus solely on appearance, and the core message behind it is that we are so much more than our bodies. We are complex human beings with a variety of dimensions. While achieving body acceptance is going to look completely different for everyone, there are 4 major things that help me to be a little bit more kinder to myself, even on the days that I'm feeling like absolute shit. The first thing that helped me get to a place of body acceptance is stopping the comparison. You might have heard of this phrase, quote, that comparison is the thief of joy, and it's absolutely true, because if you start to compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 50, you start comparing your current physique, habits, the way you eat, the way you train, your strength levels to somebody else who might have been working on those areas for the last 10 years, it's only gonna leave you defeated. And you will never be able to be satisfied with your progress because you're failing to recognize how far you have come. And even if you wanted to compare, but shifted your focus away from looking at somebody else to you, where you were a week ago, where you were a month ago, where you were a year ago, you'll be able to recognize how far you've have actually came. And that is just going to be so much more liberating than trying to compare you to somebody with different values, with different priorities, different lifestyle, different life and work commitments, genetics. Like we all are super unique, and hence we cannot compare where we are to where somebody else is. And I know that can be easier said than done sometimes, especially with so much pressure coming from social media, because social media paints an unrealistic picture of reality. We literally are faced with highlight reels. We see a snippet of somebody else's life. We see photos and videos under the perfect lighting, shot with the perfect lenses, usually highly edited, and we think that's how everyone else is looking and living their lives, which makes us feel envy, which makes us feel down in ourselves. But one thing that has really helped me to be more positive about my body is stopping looking at what anyone else is doing and where they currently are on their journeys. And also, if you are going to compare, you can't just pick and choose which part of somebody else you want and ignore every other aspects of their lives. So you might be looking at somebody and being like, I wish I had that person's body. Okay, but do you also wish that you had their family life, their friends, their financial situation? Like, are you willing to give up not only your body for theirs, but your family, your friends, your career, or whatever else that you cherish in your life? And I think viewing it in a bigger picture, that you can't only pick and choose one aspect that you would exchange for somebody, kind of brings you back to like reality and being like, you know what? No, I wouldn't. There's so much more about my life that I am appreciative of, and it's not always just about like looks and appearance. So that's one thing. The second thing is recognizing what my body can do that has absolutely nothing to do with my shape, size, or appearance. And writing out the things that I am grateful for. And yes, writing them out, actually getting them down on a piece of paper, because yes, gratitude can exist just in your head, but getting them out of your head and actually looking and reading back reinforces the fact that there's so much things that you can be grateful for in your life. You also recognizing what my body can do for me, that has nothing to do with looks. Being able to get out of bed every single morning. You know, a lot of people don't even have that privilege. Being able to walk up a flight of stairs without getting out of breath, being able to go on hikes, how much weight I can lift in the gym, going for walks, meeting my friends. Like, there's so much. The way that I can show up as a friend, as like a daughter to my parents, a partner, or whatnot. These are all like amazing qualities that my body can do, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the way I look, how much I weigh, or whatnot. The third thing that helped me to become more body acceptance is surrounding myself with positive people. And this goes to people in my like close inner circle in person, and also people on social media, because our environment plays a massive role on how we are, even subconsciously. And there's this quote that goes that you are a reflection of the 5 closest people in your life. And again, that doesn't always apply to those people that are in actual physical close proximity to you, but also those people that you engage with and interact on social media. And if there's accounts that you're currently following that make you feel worse in your body than better, then don't be afraid to unfollow, to block, and mute. I know sometimes it might be actually people that are your friends, and you don't want to go as far as blocking those people on social media because it might create tension in friendships, but there's no reason that you can't mute them. At the end of the day, you gotta be selfish. Like, you gotta put your own well-being first, because if you're constantly going to ignore the way you feel, you won't be able to show up as the best person for others. So you got to fill your own cup, and surrounding yourself with people that actually don't pick themselves apart and constantly moan about their body and complain about their like imperfections and flaws, and focus on other areas of life that have nothing to do with appearance, it's actually going to rub off against you, and you're going to notice yourself being much more positive in your body. I know I did. I know I had to unfollow some accounts, because although they were fitspiration and I was getting motivation out of them, in a way it was triggering me. And especially when I was going through the period of like having to gain weight because of like health reasons, and I knew I was doing it for the right reasons, being exposed to some accounts who were heavily focusing on aesthetics was a triggering point for me. And this is something I had to do, whether that's temporarily or for good. It's okay. It's okay to not expose yourself to that. And it might be a lot easier on social media, and you might be able to filter them easier than filtering people that have been in your life. But the first step is to even spotting those behaviors in others, and perhaps having those difficult situations that, comments like these make you feel uncomfortable and you'd rather like not hear them, or for those comments not to be said around you. Or maybe you just have to isolate yourself from that. Whatever it takes, you have to do. You have to put yourself first. And like I mentioned, environment is absolutely key. And you cannot strive in an environment which isn't conducive to the way you want to feel about your body. And the last thing that has massively helped me with body acceptance is actually wearing clothes that I feel comfortable in. Clothes are meant to fit us and not our bodies fit clothes. And I know there's like this super emotional attachment to the size of clothing, and we feel that our self-worth is decreasing if we have to like go up in size, or maybe go down in size if weight gain is your goal. But nowadays it's so hard to be just one size, because the way clothes are being manufactured is absolutely ridiculous. Like, you go into one store and you could be a size 10 in jeans and it could fit you perfectly fine. You'll go into another store and size 10 doesn't even go past your leg. You go into a third store and size 10 is like floating on you. It's literally like a massive bin bag around you. Size does not define you as a person, and actually putting in time to detach yourself from the idea that being a certain size gives you more worth or makes you a better person. Go into a changing room, pick up like a number of sizes. Don't even look at the tag if it triggers you right now. Over time you might build a better relationship, and actually just buy what hugs your body and you feel comfortable in. And certain clothes gonna feel different for you too. So maybe it's the way the clothing was made wasn't necessarily the perfect fit for your body type, and that's absolutely fine. There's so many clothes that I feel like, wow, this looks amazing on this like mannequin or this model that on like Instagram, and I'm like, I definitely want to buy it. I try it on, I was like, absolutely freaking not. But I'm not blaming myself for it. Like, it's not my fault. Simply that piece of clothing just isn't the ideal for my body type, and that's absolutely fine. There's some clothes where I try on, I'm like, fuck yes, I feel great in that. And that's where my point is. Just picking clothes that you genuinely feel good in and that make you feel comfortable is going to help you to increase that body confidence, body acceptance. So to wrap things up, I don't think you need to strive to get to the place where you love every single aspect of your body unconditionally. It's okay not to be fully satisfied with everything, but it's not okay to be super critical and hyper focused on these areas. And it does not make you less worthy of a person if you have certain areas that you aren't completely happy about. It's more so about working on accepting them, understanding that you don't have to put life on hold, you don't have to withdraw from certain activities or situations because of certain areas that you might not be fully happy about. You can learn to be kind to yourself, you can learn to accept your body, you can still be in a place where you're happy and accepting of your body and still want to change. And that's where I am currently. At the moment, I decided to go into a little bit of like a tidy up fat loss phase, just to get just to drop some body fat, and that's absolutely fine, but it's not coming from a place of like insecurity. Yes, I'm holding on to some more body fat that I would like to, but also I know why, because I wasn't prioritizing necessarily like physical aspects of my body and my appearance as such, but more so like enjoying meals out with friends, enjoying all these like different foods, enjoying not really like paying much attention to like the quantity of food I was consuming. Yes, still eating relatively good, and yes, still eating to support like my physical goals and to have energy, and yeah, still maintain some body composition, but not being like hyper focused on that. And now I decided, you know what, I do want to be a little bit more rigid with food, with exercise, with planning, whatnot, and that's fine. It's not coming from a place of I need to change my body like it did a few years ago. The reason why I was undergoing change and the reason why I went on a weight loss and fat loss journey was for validation, was to be more acceptance. It was from a place of like hating my body. There's a massive difference between why I'm deciding to undergo this journey right now. So yes, I fully believe that you still can get to a place of body acceptance, and still it's okay for you to have maybe some appearance or physique related goals, but it's important to recognize the difference. So I guess I'm recording this episode in the hope that you'll get to a place where you're more kinder to your body and more accepting of it, and understanding that your self-worth is absolutely not defined by your shape, size, or any number, whether that's on the scale or like on a clothing tag. If you did enjoy this episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you shared it, tagged me on your stories, shared it with a family or friend member. And if you're looking for one-to-one guidance, support, accountability, then you can always inquire about one-to-one coaching. I'm going to leave the application form in the show notes below, so don't be afraid to fill it out. It only takes about 2 minutes, and then we can get you all set up to feel your best, essentially. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.